Hi everybody, welcome to this object-oriented programming tutorial in Java. Today we're going to look at how to create a kind of GUI-based 2D game idea. For those of you who have been following my course, you may already have covered the data hiding unit and come across a coding challenge where we created a text-based game where we had an imaginary Mario character jumping around an imaginary 2D grid, and this was just a text-based game. In today's tutorial series, we're going to turn that text-based game into a graphics-based game. Now, the ideas for this tutorial series come from Rhys Snow's tutorial series, where he teaches you how to make a 2D game in Java. And some of the ideas that I'll be introducing today come from the first two videos of this series. And if you're a keen programmer and you want to develop your programming skills, I do recommend following Rhys' tutorial series. I've only done the first two videos, but I do intend to continue. Okay, so let's get back to Jumping Mario and let's get started. From my text-based game, this is the Mario class. I haven't changed anything. It's just the same class that I was using in my text-based version of Jumping Mario. Mario has a name, a location, and a health value. And we've got accessor and mutator methods which allow us to play with those properties. Okay. In my current project, I've already got three files then. I've imported my Mario class. I've already designed my main class. All it does is construct a game frame. Now this game frame class is my idea. I'm designing this. Okay, I could have called it the X class. It doesn't matter what you call it. I decided to call it the game frame class because that's meaningful to me. Let's go and look at the game frame class that I'm designing. This game frame class, I'm borrowing loads of useful code from an existing class called the JFrame class. And this class exists in Java's Swing library, which is all to do with graphics. Okay, so I'm borrowing loads of useful code. And when I construct a new game frame object, the first thing I do is create a game panel. This is also my idea. We'll look at this in a moment. Okay, so the game panel is going to be added to the game frame. And then we're going to do a series of standard things that you need to do when you are designing any kind of 2D frame-based thing in Java. Okay, you get used to doing these, and I've left some comments trying to explain what each line of code does. But if you're already getting started with this project, you might want to pause the video right now and just type out this code to help us get our game frame up and running. Okay, so let's turn our attention now to the game panel class. I haven't started designing it yet. It's not a built-in class in Java Swing library. I'm going to be designing the game panel class. So let's get started. The game panel, I could call this class whatever I want. I could call it the Y class, the Z class, the panel class. I've just decided to call it the game panel class. Up to you what you call it. Now, game panel is where the game happens. Think of it as maybe a game board. This is where the game magic happens. Okay? And to help me do my coding for the panel, I'm going to borrow loads of code from Java's JPanel class. Okay? Now, because I want to do that, I am going to have to import the JPanel class from Java's Swing library. Now, we're going to follow the same routine, guys. What are the properties of my game panel? Well, I know that I'm going to have a Mario character. And let's give him a identifier. Let's not call him X. Let's call him Mario. In fact, my game is going to have 2 Mario objects. I'm going to have one, and I'm going to have another one. I'm going to call him Luigi. And another... Oh, let's use data hiding by default. Let's make these 2 properties private. And another property of this game is going to be a game thread. Okay? The game thread is going to allow us to control when the game starts and when the game maybe pauses and when the game stops. If we run the game through a thread, we can control it. Okay? So to do that, I'm going to create a new property. I'm going to call it game thread, and its data type is thread. Let's continue to use data hiding, just as good practice. Now, don't panic if you don't understand what I'm just about to tell you, okay? If we want to implement a thread in my class, I need to implement another class. I need to implement the runnable class. Okay? Now, we'll come to this in a moment. If I want to implement the runnable class, it's going to tell me that I have to implement a specific method. It is the run method. Okay? So if I want to implement a class, it tells me, hey you, if you want to use me, you better implement the methods that I tell you to implement. And the runnable class is telling us to implement the run method. Now we'll come back to this later, but this is what we need to get things started. So I'm just going to recap that one more time. To help control the running of our game, we're going to be using a thread. Because we want to use a thread, we need to implement the runnable class. And the runnable class demands that we implement a set of methods in order to use the class. In this case, it's only asking us to implement one method, the run method. Okay, we'll come back to that later. So I've identified the properties of my class. I'm going to continue now, as usual, with the constructor method. So, when I construct a game panel, this is the constructor method of the game panel class. I'm just going to do a couple of standard things that we always have to do. This panel, I'm going to set its preferred size. And to do that, I'm going to create a dimension. Let's say it's 400 pixels by 400 pixels. I'm going to have to import this class into my project. There we go. So this is just a standard procedure, guys. You're going to be doing this every time you create this kind of 2D game environment. Okay, set up the size of the panel, and let's give it a background color. We don't have to, but I'm going to anyway. Set background color. We'll use the color class, and we'll choose the black property of the color class. I think that's all. Do I have to import that as well? Oh my goodness, I have to import the color class. Okay, so there's just a couple of standard things we do when we construct a game panel. Also, when I construct a game panel, I need to initialize my 2 characters. Now, I cannot remember the design of the Mario constructor method, so I'm going to go into the Mario class, and I'm going to look at the constructor method, string int. Okie dokie. So this Mario, his name is Mario, and X location, let's put him in the middle of the game panel, and we'll do the same for Luigi. Okay, we'll just put them on top of each other. That's fine, whatever, doesn't matter. Okay, and once we've done that, let's call a new method. I'm just going to be designing this in a moment. Called start game. We'll start the game. So that's what I'm going to do when I construct a game panel. Let's just comment this out for a minute and see if things are working at the moment. Let's go back to my main. So in main, I call the game frame class and I construct a new game frame. So we jump into the game frame class. We construct a game panel and we set up the frame. When we set up a game panel object, we give it a size and we get our Mario's initialized. Let's run main and just see if we've got a game frame. Yes, it works. All right, in the next video, we'll look at how to start our game thread.